In the icy grip of the Bering Sea, 7 days can decide $1 million fate. Each winter, a handful of vessels sail into one of the most perilous fisheries on Earth. Not for oil, not for rescue, but for red king crab. According to NOAA data, the Alaska king crab season once produced up to 200 million pounds in peak years, though today quotas have tightened dramatically. At its height, a single ship can haul in over 200,000 pounds in just 1 week, translating to more than $3 million in revenue when markets are strong. But this is not just commercial fishing. It's a high-stakes gamble on crushing waves, freezing decks, and 1,200-pound pots that leave no margin for error. So, why do they do it? Join us as we follow the crew through storms and wagers where every basket is a bet and every crab is a prize from the edge of the world. Red king crab wasn't always a luxury. Commercial harvesting began in earnest after World War II, when U.S. fishermen, armed with surplus Navy vessels and radar, ventured into the frigid waters off Alaska's coast. The boom years came fast. By the mid-1960s, annual U.S. harvests of red king crab had soared in their peak, up to 159 million pounds, including 94 million pounds from Kodiak District alone, transforming this once overlooked crustacean into a global delicacy. But the industry expanded too quickly. Overfishing and warming waters triggered a collapse in the early 1980s. Strict quotas and shortened seasons were introduced to stabilize the population. Today, most boats are allowed to operate for only a few days per year, depending on livestock surveys and export demand. According to the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, recent harvests are a fraction of the past, but prices remain sky-high, especially in U.S., Japanese, and South Korean markets. Once a symbol of abundance, king crab has become a high-risk, high-reward pursuit, one that blends survival, science, and seafood in every haul. Before a single crab pot hits the water, everything must be ready, because once the clock starts, there's no turning back. The crew begins by checking over 800 pieces of equipment, hydraulic cranes, steel winches, bait chutes, and the massive cylindrical crab pots themselves, each one weighing up to 800 pounds empty and nearly 1,200 pounds when packed with bait and frozen in seawater. A typical vessel carries about 150 to 300 pots, stacked like iron cages on the back deck. Each pot is lined with thick coiled rope, attached to an orange buoy marked with the ship's ID. Inside, the bait is prepared with surgical repetition. The preferred choice? Chopped herring or cod, sometimes mixed with squid slurry or sardine oil to create a scent trail that spreads along the ocean floor. The bait is packed in. Once they leave the harbor, the captain only has a narrow window, often 96 to 120 hours, to catch their quota before conditions worsen or regulations close the season. Ice accumulates quickly, forcing the crew to hammer it off railings and pot frames every few hours. Even before the first drop, the cold is brutal. Steel surfaces burn bare hands. Winds slice through insulated gear, and every man on board knows once the pots are in, the only way out is full. This is the calm before the storm, a moment of precision, of silence, and of quiet calculation before the first gamble hits the sea. Once the bait is packed and the gear is checked, the real operation begins. Each pot is rolled toward the edge by hydraulic arms, locked into a launch cradle, and released into the icy black water with a thud that echoes across the deck. Every drop is a wager, set along the captain's carefully mapped grid using GPS, sonar, and decades of instinct. The pots descend nearly 400 feet to the seabed, pulled by gravity and coiled rope. A bright buoy floats above, bobbing in open water. The crew repeats this process 150 to 200 times, forming long lines of traps spaced evenly across the seafloor. It's a race against time, light, and weather. The faster the pots hit the water, the sooner they can begin the long wait. But there's no rest. After several hours, sometimes overnight, the crew returns to the first line. One by one, the buoys are snagged with a long pole and fed into the hydraulic block, where winches reel the soaking rope back onto the boat. The pot reemerges from the deep, soaked in seawater and thick with barnacles. No one knows what's inside until the steel lid opens. Sometimes it's nearly empty, just a few undersized shells. Sometimes it's full of red king crab, their claws clacking as they tumble out in a heap. Either way, there's no pause. Another pot waits, another buoy bobs, another chance to win or come up short. The ocean gives nothing for free. Each pot is a question. The next wave might bring the answer. As each pot slams onto the sorting table, the real work begins. Dozens of crabs spill out in a tangle of legs and claws. Some are tangled in the bait bag. Others cling to the pot frame, reluctant to let go. The deckhands move fast, each one trained to grab, measure, and sort in seconds. Legal red king crabs must be males with a minimum carriage space of 6.5 inches, measured using a custom aluminum gauge. Those that pass are tossed into a live holding tank filled with chilled seawater. The rest, undersized or female, are immediately turned to the ocean. Every decision happens in motion. There's no weighing, no second guess, just eyes, gloves, and muscle memory. The boat has space for about 20,000 pounds of live crab before it needs to return to offload. And every crab counts. A full tank means profit. A half tank? Possibly a loss. But how many crabs does it actually take to hit a $3 million mark? Take a guess. An average red king crab weighs about 6 to 10 pounds. That means the crew needs at least 20,000 to 30,000 crabs, sorted, live, and intact to meet their quota in a single trip. And all of it must be done while waves crash across the rail and cold wind bites through the layered gloves. They sort while soaked, measure while bracing their knees, and toss each crab like it's a worthless paycheck, because it is. Here, speed is everything, so is accuracy. One wrong throw could mean a fine, a failed inspection, or a lost chance. Not every crab survives the trip. As the tank begins to fill, the crew watches closely. Healthy crabs stay active, claws raised, legs shifting, but some arrive injured or too weak to last the voyage home. These are pulled from the tank and sent down in a separate line. The live sorting happens fast. Crabs that show signs of stress, foaming, limp movement, or shell damage are diverted for immediate onboard processing. First, they are rinsed to remove sand and shell debris. Then they're dropped into boiling seawater heated to 96 degrees Celsius, cooked exactly for 12 to 14 minutes depending on size. Timing is critical. Undercooked crabs fail inspection. Overcooked ones lose their signature texture. After boiling, the crabs are plunged into ice-cold brine, halting the cooking process and preserving the meat's firmness. Once cooled, the legs and bodies are manually separated. Workers use curved knives and rubber hammers to crack joints without damaging the meat inside. Each section is laid out to drain, then flash frozen using onboard IQF systems set at -35°C. Meanwhile, the live tanks are constantly aerated and chilled to below 4°C. The crew checks pH, salinity, and oxygen levels every few hours. These crabs, if stable, will be shipped live to restaurants across Tokyo, New York, and Seoul. Whether cooked or raw, every crab is tagged, barcoded, and recorded. On this boat, nothing is wasted, everything is tracked. This isn't just fishing, it's cold chain engineering. At sea, in real time, under pressure. Once the quota is met, the race isn't over. It simply moves to the next phase. Live crabs are transferred from onboard tanks to insulated transport crates, each lined with ice packs and cooling gel. To survive the journey, temperatures must stay between 0 and 4°C, from ship to airport to kitchen. Every box is labeled with time of harvest, located frozen and bagged. Their journey continues at a shoreside facility, where legs are separated, graded, and sorted. Premium clusters are packed into vacuum-sealed trays and boxed for high-end markets. Others are canned, minced, or processed into imitation crab for mass retail. Even the broken shells aren't wasted. Some are ground into chitin, used in fertilizer, cosmetics, and medical applications. From here, the shipments go global, by air to Tokyo, Tsukiji Market, by truck to Las Vegas buffets, by freezer container to Korean wholesalers. At every checkpoint, inspectors check for temperature compliance, intact shells, and product integrity. A single failed child, but the supply chain is not. And by the time you crack open a leg of king crab at a holiday dinner or a white tablecloth restaurant, it has already traveled thousands of miles through storms, steel, and silence to get there. If pulling crab from under the ice felt extreme, what happens next takes place under total darkness. No cold wind, no crashing waves, just a flat black sea and 1,000 lights flickering like stars. Because somewhere off the coast of Peru, another crew is preparing for a different kind of hunt, one that doesn't last 7 days, but just one night. And in that single night, they hope to harvest over 12 tons of squid and earn nearly $1 million before the sun returns. Let's see how they do it. The giant Humboldt squid isn't just a curiosity of the deep, it's the backbone of a multi-billion-dollar industry along the Pacific coast of South America. Native to the cold, oxygen-poor waters off Peru and Chile, these aggressive predators can grow over 6 feet long and weigh more than 100 pounds. Once feared by divers and misunderstood by scientists, They are now central to one of the world's fastest-growing seafood trades. After the collapse of Peru's anchovy stocks in the 1970s, squid quickly filled the gap. By the 1990s, artisanal fleets had expanded into full-scale commercial operations. Today, Peru exports over $500 million worth of squid annually, primarily to Japan, Korea, Europe, and the US. But harvesting squid isn't like catching tuna or crab. They rise only at night, they spoil in under an hour, and their behavior is unpredictable. To catch them, fishermen must build a floating illusion, an artificial moon over a black ocean, and trick these creatures into coming close. That's where the real challenge begins. Long before the first squid appears, the ocean must be prepared to deceive. As the sun sets off the coast of Peru, a specialized vessel heads into deeper water, far beyond sight of land. On board, the crew moves with quiet urgency. Generators roar to life. Dozens of LED rigs are hoisted into place. These are not ordinary lights. Each one emits up to 200,000 lumens, calibrated to mimic the spectral temperature of moonlight. It's not just brightness, it's biology. Giant squid are nocturnal hunters. They rise from the deep as the world above them turns dark. But unlike crabs or tuna, they don't follow scent or sound, they follow light. That's why timing matters. Too early and the light won't attract. Too late and the squid may already be feeding elsewhere. So the captain waits for the precise moment, when the surface cools, currents shift, and the sea goes still. Once deployed, the lights stretch over 50 meters, casting a soft halo that pulses beneath the waves. The effect is eerie, like a stadium floating in black water. Meanwhile, the crew readies the gear. Specialized squid jigs are attached to long lines or mechanized reels, designed to simulate the motion of prey. Every knot, every pulley, every rotation is tested. On this boat, there's no time for second chances. A single night must deliver. And when the sonar pings, when the first signals of movement appear on the screen, no one talks, because now the ocean is watching. With the lights in place and the radar locked in, it's time to cast. Each long line carries hundreds of squid jigs, barbed lures made of stainless steel shaped like small fish, and designed to flicker in the artificial glow. Some are dropped manually, others run through automated spoolers that dip and jerk the lines to simulate distressed prey. It's not brute force, it's choreography. The goal is to mimic just enough motion to trigger a strike. Giant squid attack fast, using their tentacles to grab and twist prey in seconds. Once hooked, they thrash wildly, spraying ink and flailing in the water column. Too much tension and the jig tears free. Too little and the line tangles. Above deck, the crew monitors pressure on each reel. A sudden spike? It's a catch. A dip? Probably a false strike. They adjust in real time, switching out jigs, altering depth, rebalancing line weight. Most squid come in waves. The school moves together, rises fast, and vanishes just as quickly. If the team misses the window, they may lose the entire catch. Some nights, there's nothing. Just silence and light on water. Other nights, the radar blinks red and the reels spin like turbines. Tense-second stretch. Then the first squid breaks the surface. Arms splayed, ink trailing behind them like a shadow in the sea. The hunt has begun. There's no pause now. Every line must be managed. Every movement matters, because once the school appears, the clock is ticking. And the squid won't wait. Once the squid start biting, the deck turns chaotic. Reels groan under the load as line after line is pulled in. Giant squid break the surface in clusters, long muscular bodies twisting under the floodlights, ink spraying in all directions. Some land on deck with a dull slap, others cling to the rails, tentacles wrapping anything they touch. The crew moves fast, working in shifts but barely pausing. Gloves are slick with slime, faces are streaked with ink. One man sprays down the landing zone, another hauls fresh lines. A third grabs the squid with a gaff pole and tosses it towards the sorting bins. Each squid weighs between 20 to 50 pounds, and hundreds arrive in minutes. It's a downpour of biology, wet, heavy, and fast. But there's no cheering, just discipline, because time is the real enemy. From the moment the squid hits the deck, the clock starts. If it's not processed or frozen within 30 minutes, it begins to soften, losing its texture, its color, and its market value. Now think about this. How do you process 12 tons of squid before the sun comes up? And what happens if you fall behind? Below deck, the freezing system is already running. Bins of fresh catch are weighed, sprayed, and passed to the cold line. On deck, the next lines are already coming in. No one looks up, no one stops to count, because in this business, the ocean doesn't give warnings, it gives waves, and right now they're crashing in ink. Preserving squid isn't just a step, it's a race against chemical breakdown. The moment a squid is caught, enzymes begin softening its flesh. Temperature, time, and oxygen all work against the crew. That's why the freezing process starts immediately, just meters from where the squid lands. By sunrise, most of the 12 tons are frozen solid, boxed, stacked, and ready for inspection. But the work isn't done yet because the next battle is on land. As the boat docks just after sunrise, the cold chain doesn't break, it shifts. Forklifts move containerized pallets of frozen squid straight into the blast hold storage, where the temperature is kept just below -18 degrees Celsius. From there, they are trucked to processing facilities on land, some less than 2 hours from the port. Every minute still matters. Inspections begin before the first box is even opened. Inside the facility, trays are unpacked and the squid undergoes a second cleaning. High-pressure jets remove the remaining ink. Technicians use digital calipers to sort them by body length, weight, and fin size. Commercial-grade squid goes one way. Premium specimens, larger, intact, and uniform, go another. For top-tier markets, the squid is trimmed, gutted, and segmented with robotic arms. Each piece is scanned and blast frozen again using dual-stage IQF for added stability. Labels indicate catch zone, vessel ID, date of harvest, and microbiological clearance. The rest is portioned for mass distribution. Some sliced into rings for frozen seafood aisles, others packed whole for wholesale export. Every box is barcode tracked, logged in customs records, and assigned to buyers across Europe, Asia, and North America. A single night's work is now worth over $900,000, scattered across continents in containers stamped with barcodes and country codes. But before it ever reaches a plate in Tokyo or a fryer in Ohio, each squid was lured, hooked, frozen, sorted, and certified under pressure, in darkness, without delay. If catching squid is a race against the dark, then tuna fishing is a battle against steel, weight, and heat. A single bluefin tuna can weigh more than 500 pounds. Some are nearly 7 feet long, and unlike crab or squid, these fish don't hide, they run. They dive fast, fight hard, and can snap a steel crane cable with one twist of their tail. But the real work doesn't happen on deck. It begins after the fight is over, inside cutting rooms colder than ice, and pressure cookers hotter than boiling oil. Because turning a massive sea predator into a $3 can of tuna, that's a process few ever see. And once you do, you might never look at your sandwich the same way again. Let's take a closer look. For centuries, tuna was the ocean's mystery, fast, elusive, and almost impossible to catch in large numbers. That changed in the early 20th century, when American and European fleets began industrializing tuna harvests. With the invention of purse-seine nets and mechanized cranes, fishing vessels could now catch entire schools in a single sweep. By the 1950s, canned tuna had become a pantry staple in the U.S., branded as healthy, convenient, and cleaner than red meat. School lunch trays, Navy rations, and family dinners all relied on it. Demand exploded. Today, over 4 million metric tons of tuna are harvested globally each year, feeding a market worth more than $40 billion. But behind every can is a complex system of deep-sea fishing, transoceanic cold chains, and high-pressure sterilization. Each fish is tracked, weighed, trimmed, cooked, sealed, labeled, and shipped, often within 48 hours of being caught. And it all begins with a crane, a hook, and hundreds of pounds of pure muscle. Tuna fishing starts far from shore, sometimes hundreds of miles into open water. Most commercial vessels use purse-seine nets, massive circular nets up to 2,000 meters long and 200 meters deep, designed to surround entire schools of tuna in a single pass. A smaller skiff boat helps guide the net around the fish. Once the circle closes, a hydraulic winch draws the bottom tight, trapping the tuna like a floating fence. Underwater, chaos erupts. Tuna are fast, powerful swimmers. They can reach speeds of 40 miles per hour, and each one can weigh 100 to 500 pounds. Some try to dive, others crash against the mesh. Above, the crew watches closely. The entire catch must be brought on board quickly to avoid spoilage or injury. One by one, the fish are lifted using braille nets or mechanical cranes. A single scoop can haul over 1,500 pounds of fish at once. As the tuna land on deck, they are immediately stunned and bled, a process that improves meat color and shelf life. Warm blood is flushed from the body using seawater hoses. Then the fish are tagged, weighed, and passed into blast chillers, or deep brine tanks on board. The goal is to drop the internal temperature below -18 degrees Celsius as fast as possible. Every action is timed, every degree matters. Because tuna isn't just seafood, it's perishable currency. And once it leaves the ocean, the countdown begins. Once the vessel docks, tuna moves fast but carefully. Each fish is hoisted off the ship using industrial-grade cranes, then lowered into insulated containers filled with crushed ice or saltwater slush. From there, forklifts transport the load directly into the factory's receiving area. No storage yards, no waiting outdoors. Inside, the temperature never rises above -18 degrees Celsius. Every wall, floor, and surface is chilled. Workers wear full thermal suits. Even the air feels metallic, dry, sharp, and silent. This isn't just storage, it's the holding point between ocean and industry. And once those factory doors swing open, the transformation begins. Inside the processing plant, giant frozen tuna are rolled onto motorized conveyor lines. The temperature here hovers just above freezing, cold enough to preserve but warm enough for blades to cut clean. Each fish is first defrosted under controlled conditions, misted with chilled water, or left overnight in refrigeration tunnels. Workers then use hydraulic-powered bandsaws to remove the head, tail, and spine in seconds. What remains is a thick, muscular body, ready for precision work. Now here's something most people don't realize. Before tuna goes into a can, it's cooked whole, before it's even chopped. Why? Cooking first helps remove excess oil and makes bones easier to separate. The trim fillets are loaded into giant steam ovens, stacked on steel trays. These cookers reach 100 to 120 degrees Celsius, steaming the meat for 45 to 90 minutes, depending on size and species. Manual cutters take over next. Using long, razor-sharp knives, they slice the tuna into 4 fillet sections, 2 loins, and 2 belly flaps. Every motion is practiced, fast but exact. Even slight mistakes can downgrade an entire piece from premium to secondary grade. But every tray is different. Some will end up in family-sized cans, others in snack packs. A few may be even dried, jarred, or powdered. From here, it's all about form. Once the tuna meat is cooked and cooled, it moves into the packaging line, where precision meets automation. Trained workers arrange flakes or chunks of tuna into pre-sized steel cans, adjusting by weight to meet the exact fill targets. Each can is calibrated to hold 85 grams, 185 grams, or up to 1 kilogram of tuna, depending on market. Some are filled with oil, others with brine or vegetable broth, depending on the brand and country of destination. Sensors monitor every gram, overfilling waste product, underfilling risks rejection. After packing, the cans move along the line to an automated vacuum sealer. Lids are placed on top, then sealed tight using double-seamed rollers that crimp the edge of the metal into a waterproof, airtight lock. The vacuum step removes oxygen to prevent spoilage and bacterial growth. But sealing isn't the end, it's just the beginning of safety. Next comes retort sterilization, where thousands of sealed cans are stacked inside massive pressure chambers. These autoclaves heat the product at 116 to 121 degrees Celsius, under high pressure for 60 to 90 minutes, killing any surviving microorganisms, especially Clostridium botulinum, the most dangerous. Once cooled, the cans are rinsed, dried, and labeled by laser printer. Brand, lot number, expiration date, and plant origin are all embedded on the lid or body. Before a single can leaves the factory, it must pass through final inspection, a last firewall between the plant and the plate. Samples from each batch are selected at random. Quality control teams weigh them, shake them, cut them open. They check fill levels, texture, smell, and seal integrity. Some cans are submerged in water and pressurized to detect leaks. Others are sliced and plated for visual grading. A single dent, overfill, or air bubble can disqualify an entire pallet. Once cleared, the cans are sorted by market. North American orders get English labels. European exports require multi-language compliance stickers. Japan demands tighter tolerances and special barcode formats. Cans are boxed into corrugated cartons, usually 24 or 48 units per case, then stacked on Euro-sized pallets and shrink-wrapped. Every shipment receives a logistics code, tied to a digital record that traces the fish from ocean to factory to dock. From there, containers are loaded into refrigerated trucks or sealed dry vans, bound for distribution centers, warehouses, or overseas ports. Some go to school lunch programs, others to high-end food services. Many more will line the shelves of global supermarket chains. By the time the tuna sandwich hits your plate, the fish inside may have traveled 10,000 miles, passed through 5 countries, and been handled by over 100 people. And yet it arrives shelf-stable, pre-cooked, sealed tight, and ready to eat. It's not just food, it's logistics, chemistry, precision, and timing, packed into a silver can. A crab wrestled from beneath the ice, a squid lured by artificial moonlight, a tuna tamed by steel and steam. 3 ordinary foods, caught, carved, frozen, and sealed, through some of the most complex operations on Earth. From boiling seawater to negative 40 degrees Celsius freezers, from hand-cut fillets to robotic sterilization lines, these aren't just meals, they're engineered systems. Machines in motion, human instinct under pressure. And behind every bite is a story of danger, precision, and endurance that most of us never see. But now you have. So if you're hungry for more truth, more process, more discovery, hit subscribe and follow Captain Discovery as we keep uncovering the secrets behind the things you thought you already knew.